It was supposed to be just another peaceful afternoon in a quiet suburban neighborhood until things took a shocking turn. A black man, simply minding his business while parking his brand-new Rolls Royce outside his home, suddenly found himself at the center of an outrageous accusation. Within minutes, a woman, now widely labeled online as a Karen, was on the phone with 911, claiming the luxury car had to be stolen just because of who was driving it. She didn't ask questions, she didn't consider the facts, she just assumed. The man, calm and collected, tried to explain that the car was his, legally owned, earned through hard work. But her mind was already made up. Her voice, laced with suspicion and entitlement, told the dispatcher that something didn't look right. Neighbors began to gather. Phones came out. What started as a typical day quickly spiraled into a scene that would go viral within hours. Was this a simple misunderstanding, or something deeper? As the police pulled up and stepped out of their vehicles, the tension thickened. Would they believe the truth? Or would the false assumption of one woman lead to an unnecessary confrontation? What happened next will not only shock you, but raise serious questions about bias, privilege, and the assumptions people still make today. The man at the center of it all is Marcus, a 34-year-old successful tech entrepreneur who recently moved into the neighborhood after years of hard work and sacrifice. The Rolls Royce was more than just a car to him. It was a symbol of what he had accomplished. But none of that mattered to the woman who stood across the street, arms crossed, eyes locked on him like he didn't belong. She never asked for his name, never considered that he might live there. She just jumped to conclusions, pointing at the car, saying over and over, "That's not his." Her tone was firm, like she was doing some kind of civic duty. The police officer who stepped out first looked unsure, caught between the call they received and the calm man standing in front of a luxury vehicle parked in his own driveway. Meanwhile, Marcus kept his cool, but inside he was stunned. How quickly everything flipped. How easily one woman's assumption could bring flashing lights to his doorstep. He looked at the growing crowd, feeling exposed in a neighborhood he thought he was safe in. Whispers spread, cameras rolled, and all the while the question hung heavy in the air. Would the truth matter? Or would the stereotype win this time? And just when things couldn't get more tense, something else happened. As Marcus stood there, trying to hold it together, a second police cruiser pulled up. That's when the questions began: license, registration, proof of ownership. He handed them everything without hesitation. Still, the officers kept glancing at the woman, now standing even closer, arms still folded like she was waiting for a reward. She pointed toward his house and said, "There's no way he lives there." Inside, Marcus's phone buzzed non-stop. Friends, neighbors, even his business partner texting, asking what was going on. One neighbor, Mr. Jennings, an older white man from 2 doors down, cautiously approached the scene. "I've met Marcus," he told the officers. "He moved in a few months ago. That's his car." But even that didn't seem to shift the energy. The officers nodded politely, but their focus remained fixed on Marcus, as if trying to find something wrong. Meanwhile, the woman, whose name was later revealed to be Linda, claimed she had seen the car drive by several times before and knew it didn't belong in the area. Her story shifted slightly with each retelling. First, she thought the car was stolen. Then she claimed Marcus had been acting suspicious. It was clear she was stretching, but no one was stopping her. Marcus could feel the weight of history repeating itself, and behind his calm stare, his heart pounded with one question: how far was this going to go? Marcus stood still, trying not to let the pressure crack him. But with every passing second, the situation felt like it was slipping further out of his control. The officers stepped aside to have a quiet conversation, while Linda hovered nearby, watching him like she expected him to run. Her eyes were full of judgment, her arms still crossed like she had caught someone red-handed. The flashing lights reflected off the polished hood of the Rolls Royce, turning the peaceful street into something out of a crime scene. Then one officer returned, now asking if Marcus had any video footage, maybe from a doorbell camera, to verify his presence. Marcus couldn't believe it. He had already given ID, documents, and neighbors were vouching for him. Still, the questions kept coming. It was clear they were trying to find something, anything, that might justify the call. Neighbors who had stayed quiet began murmuring. Some filmed from a distance. Others watched with arms folded, unsure of what to believe. Neighbors who had stayed quiet began murmuring. Some filmed from a distance. Others watched with arms folded, unsure of what to believe. The entire street had turned into a stage, and Marcus was the one being judged. Meanwhile, Linda's confidence only grew. She spoke louder, saying things like, "I know what I saw," and "this isn't about race." But her words rang hollow as the tension built. And then, just when it felt like it couldn't get any more intense, one officer reached for his radio. As the officer reached for his radio, Marcus's pulse quickened. He couldn't tell if they were calling for backup or preparing to detain him. Then, out of nowhere, a new voice cut through the thick tension. A delivery driver, who had just pulled up a few houses down, walked over and pointed toward Marcus with a confused look. "That's the guy who tipped me $100 last week," he said. "He lives here. I've delivered to him 3 times. It was a moment that should have ended the whole thing. But instead of backing off, Linda became even more agitated. She insisted the driver was probably confused, or worse, covering for him. The officers now had conflicting stories, but still no reason to fully close the case. That's when one of them made a call to run the plates again, this time asking dispatch to check if the car had ever been reported in any suspicious activity. Marcus kept his cool, but inside, the anger burned. He had done everything right, stayed calm, respectful, fully cooperative, and yet it wasn't enough. The spotlight was still on him, not the woman who made the false report. And then came the twist no one expected. One of the neighbors walked up holding something in her hand, a copy of the community newsletter. On the front page was a photo of Marcus from a recent homeowner spotlight feature, standing next to the same Rolls Royce. All eyes turned. But would the truth finally matter, or had the damage already been done? For a moment, everything froze. The officer holding the radio glanced at the newsletter, then at Marcus, then back at the car. It was undeniable. Same man, same smile, same Rolls Royce. The officer lowered his radio. The tension in his shoulders shifted slightly, as if the puzzle pieces had finally snapped into place. He turned to Marcus and gave a slow nod. "Looks like everything checks out," he said. But before Marcus could even respond, Linda let out a frustrated sigh. "You can't seriously believe that's enough. Anyone could fake a newsletter." Her voice cracked now, not from anger, but from panic. The crowd that had gathered was no longer watching Marcus. They were watching her. A neighbor who had been silent this whole time finally spoke up. "You need to stop. He lives here. We all know it. You're the only one who doesn't." The officers calmly told Linda that making a false report could carry legal consequences. That's when her expression changed. She muttered something about just trying to protect the neighborhood and started backing away. But before she could leave, another neighbor stepped forward, this one holding their phone. "Actually," they said, "I recorded everything, from the moment she started accusing him." The crowd went quiet. The officers took down a report. Marcus, still calm, gave a simple nod of thanks. But deep down he knew this wouldn't be the last time he had to prove he belonged. In the days that followed, the video of the incident spread fast, shared by neighbors, posted on social media, and picked up by local news. Many were outraged by how quickly Marcus was judged, not by what he did, but by how he looked. Comments poured in from people across the country, praising his patience and calling out the deeper issue behind the confrontation. The false report was now under review, and Linda had gone quiet, avoiding the neighborhood where she once felt in control. Marcus, meanwhile, got overwhelming support. Neighbors he hadn't met before came by to introduce themselves. Some brought food. Others just offered a simple, heartfelt, "I'm sorry." And though he appreciated it, he couldn't forget how quickly things escalated, how one phone call nearly turned his peaceful day into something dangerous. It left a mark, not just on him, but on the community. Marcus, meanwhile, got overwhelming support. Neighbors he hadn't met before came by to introduce themselves. Some brought food. Others just offered a simple, heartfelt, "I'm sorry." And though he appreciated it, he couldn't forget how quickly things escalated, how one phone call nearly turned his peaceful day into something dangerous. It left a mark, not just on him, but on the community. He still drives his Rolls Royce, now with more eyes watching, not out of suspicion, but respect. His story became more than just a moment caught on camera. It became a reminder that assumptions can be harmful and silence can be just as loud. In the end, the truth stood strong, but the lesson, that's what everyone took home.